All right. Looks like we are just about ready to go. By the way, if you're watching on any platform, if you're watching on Facebook, you know what? I'm going to drop this thing so you can see my face. How do I do that? Boom. Yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm pretty messed up. My hair is pretty crazy right now. Look at this. Quarantine, if you know what I mean. All right. So I'm sorry I didn't broadcast yesterday. I'll tell you why I didn't broadcast yesterday. It is because yesterday there was a problem with my sink. The sink broke, so I had to like man up and try to fix the sink. So I ended up calling a plumber, and they fixed the sink. I did what I could, but at one point I was like, this is beyond my skill level. And so we called the plumber, and the plumber fixed the sink. All right, so I'm going to talk to you today about how I became a New Yorker cartoonist. I'd like to remind you that if you're watching along, you can comment, and I should see it live. And if I see your comment live, I will try to answer your question as best I can. I'm going to turn down the music a little bit. It's a little bit noisier in here than normal because today I'm running the air conditioner, and it's too hot. It's too hot with the air conditioner off. But then I'm in just a t-shirt. But then when I turn the air conditioner on, because it's right next to my desk, it's too cold, so I have to wear a sweatshirt. So that's what I'm doing. I'm wearing a sweatshirt, wearing the Billie Eilish t-shirt that my wife got me. I don't really care about Billie Eilish, but my wife likes Billie Eilish. You can't even see the design. It's so faint. You can see some of the color. Anyway, my wife likes Billie Eilish. That's not the point. What did you say? And the artist is Takashi Murakami, who designed the shirt and about Billie Eilish. And that's why she bought it, for Takashi Murakami. Great. Anyway, so I'm wearing it because I'm cultured. All right. Now, how did I become a New Yorker cartoonist? I'm going to tell you. And remember, you can ask questions along the way if you want about anything. It doesn't even have to be about the New Yorker or anything like that. I'm keeping this close to my mouth too. Leslie has class, says Julie. Yes, she is classier than I am. I admit that freely. But on my, but in my corner, I am amazing at Tekken. So if anybody wants to get their ass kicked, let me know. I'm amazing at Tekken. What is this? Oh, this is the Leslie gave me the little tag for the shirt, so you can see it's a collaboration between Billie Eilish and Takashi Murakami. So if you guys want to go get a shirt, now you know what to Google for. All right. I am tired, but let's do this. Okay, so this is how I became a New Yorker cartoonist. For years, I wanted to become a New Yorker cartoonist, and I was just like a lot of people, where I would look at New Yorker cartoons, and some of them are great, and some of them were not as great, but I would be like, I think I could do that. And so, but I never did. Then one of my friends who I play Dungeons and Dragons with all the time, her name is Karen Schneider. Over the time that I've known her for maybe like 16 years, 17 years maybe. Over the time that I've known her, she became a semi-famous to famous New Yorker cartoonist. Like if you Google Karen Schneider, immediately her New Yorker cartoons will come up. She has like one super famous cartoon. I'll show it to you right now. Hold on a second. Where's her super famous cartoon? Here it is. Okay, I'm going to show it to you. Everybody, let me see if I can zoom in on it. Okay, so here's her super famous New Yorker cartoon. Okay, so it's this one right here with the pumpkins in therapy. This is the cartoon bank where you can buy prints of cartoons. But yeah, so it is with the pumpkins in therapy, and that's like one of like it's just a very famous New Yorker cartoon. She made that. Anyway, so we're playing Dungeons and Dragons, and she's like, Victor, why don't you just actually try to become a New Yorker cartoonist? And I was like, okay, scared for many years, but then I was like, how do I do that? And she's like, well, you have to come with me and I'll help you draw your first 10 cartoons. Because the first time you go in, they suggest that you have 10 cartoons to pitch. And so I sat down with her and I made some cartoons and she gave me some pointers. And then we went into the offices of the New Yorker that were in the World Trade Center. At the time, the old editor, how do you say his last name? Bob Manic. I don't know his last name. It's Marikoff or Manikoff or something like that. But anyway, the old editor was just switching over, and there was a new editor. Her name is Emma Allen. And so we go in, and then I meet Emma Allen, and then I show Emma Allen all my cartoons, my 10 cartoons. Emma Allen, at that point, she takes 4 of my cartoons, and she goes, these are good. These would be great. That's what she says. She goes, these are great. These would be great in the magazine. Sorry, I cut myself out of the transmission for a second. And I was like, oh my God, I just sold 4 cartoons to the New Yorker, my first try. So I ran back to Karen. I was like, I think I just sold 4 cartoons. And then Karen goes, oh, that's great. Amazing, Victor. Congratulations. So then I told my family, this was like over a year ago, 2 years ago. Then I told my whole family that I got into the New Yorker. And then that week, the next issue was supposed to come out, came and went, and I heard nothing. And I was like, what happened? And then Karen was like, oh, sometimes what they really do is they take the cartoons and then they have a meeting at the end of the week where they go over all the cartoons they think are good, and then they decide which one actually goes in the magazine. And I was like, what? Why didn't you tell me that when I ran to you and said, hey, I got it in the New Yorker? And Karen was like, I don't know. You just seemed so happy. Yes, Karen is a crazy person. Great cartoonist, crazy person. Anyway, she let me go down that road. I told my mom I had gotten in the New Yorker. So I didn't get into the New Yorker. So then I just tried to get into the New Yorker for a year. So almost every week I would come in with 5 to 10 cartoons and pitch to the New Yorker, and the same thing happened. Like maybe 1 or 3 or 4 would get taken to this meeting at the end of the week, where then the cartoon editor Emma and the editor of the New Yorker would sit down together, and they would decide what would actually get in the magazine. Over 100 cartoons later, I finally heard back about one cartoon. This was about a year ago, and it got in the New Yorker. It got purchased, and then I had to deliver a final of the cartoon. And then after I delivered a final of the cartoon, then I had to wait weeks and weeks until they said, okay, now it's going to be in an issue. So it took weeks and weeks, and this was my that's not it. This was my very first cartoon in the New Yorker. I'm going to show it to you right now. Here it is. This is my first cartoon I ever got in the New Yorker. That was about a year ago. So then I told people I got in the New Yorker, but I wasn't really touting that I was a New Yorker cartoonist. Here we go. Zeke, what's up, bro? What's up, bro? We've what's up to each other. Anyway, this is the very first cartoon I got in the New Yorker. And then after I got in the New Yorker, after I got in the New Yorker, I actually kind of stopped submitting for a little while. I did a little bit here and there, but I wasn't regularly submitting until about 2 weeks ago. I started regularly submitting again because I wanted to take a break. do I still do improv? In fact, I do still do improv. I have an improv show, which is the format of the show is an open stage, which I do every week, called NYC Talent Show. Go to nyctalentshow.com. You can look at the trailer for that show and you can see exactly what's up about it. I love all your cartoons, Vic. Why, thanks, Zeke. I prefer Victor, but other than that, thanks. All right, so I'm sorry, where was I? Oh, I was talking about the fact that I just recently started resubmitting cartoons again. How does your improv help you with your cartoons? Well, it easily helps me with the cartoons because in improv, you're always like dealing with the situation and then you're always dealing with the situation and then coming up with something interesting or funny or engaging to say for that situation. That's what cartooning, or at least gag writing, is. So that really helps me a lot. Anyway, so got my cartoon in the New Yorker. Then 2 weeks later, 2 weeks ago, I started really submitting again. And I just sold one cartoon, which became one of the most shared daily cartoons in the New Yorker, because the New Yorker has like daily cartoons as well as Cartoons the magazine. They'll do cartoons on their website that follow current events. And so one of the cartoons I did right now has been shared quite a bit. Okay, and this is a cartoon. Actually, we're just getting started where I did this on the day after all four police officers who were involved in the George Floyd murder were arrested. Then I made this cartoon. So that was actually the second cartoon that I sold to the New Yorker. I just sold another one. So now that I've sold 3 cartoons and I'm like regularly submitting, now I consider myself a New Yorker cartoonist, actually. So I'm actually able to say I'm a New Yorker cartoonist without feeling guilty about it. Because I did feel guilty when I only had one cartoon. But my third cartoon that they just bought, I don't know exactly when it comes out yet, but it probably should be within a week. You'll be able to see the third cartoon that did in the New Yorker. By the way, I want you to, if you have time, go check out Karen Schneider. Oh, that's not Karen Schneider. That is Colin Stokes. This is Emily Flake. Both Karen Schneider and Emily Flake are awesome. Karen Schneider is the cartoonist who brought me to the New Yorker initially. So I think she's great. She's a Metro Monster. Let's find her. Here we go. On Instagram. Schneider Instagram. Yeah, she's Metro Monster on Instagram. You can see tons of pictures of her dog. And then, of course, you can see... is her Instagram private? Because if it is, I really shouldn't be showing tons of pictures of her dog. But try and follow her. I don't know if it's open. She has tons. She loves to draw monsters, so that's why she's Metro Monster. And then also check out Emily Flake, because Emily Flake is also a super famous New Yorker cartoonist who has been super supportive of me. She's just really nice, and a lot of people, when other people come into the industry, they think they're in competition with people. But Emily Flake is a person who's like, I like what you do. Let me give you some tips. I'd like to help in any way I can. She's awesome. So thumbs up to Emily Flake. Double thumbs up to Karen Schneider, without whom I would not be a New Yorker cartoonist. Julie asks, do you think it's tough at any stage to call yourself an artist? Actually, I do. Every time I call myself an artist, a part of me laughs inside, or another part of me inside is like, you're not an artist, you're an asshole. So that voice is always in my head. And it is difficult sometimes to do that, but to call yourself an artist. But I mean, to be honest, anyone is an artist. Have you ever seen art that looked like a child drew it and sold for like $50,000? You have. anybody is an artist. Art is subjective. Remember that everything that you hold dear can mean nothing to other people, and everything that you think means nothing could be very, very dear to other people. So one man's garbage is another man's art, is what I'm saying. So we're all artists. So call yourself an artist, no matter who you are. You're an artist. Just, smear your own poop on canvas. You are an artist. One interesting detail about when I became a New Yorker cartoonist is along the road, I realized I didn't draw well enough, at least, and I still don't think I draw well enough. I'm working on it. So I started a web comic where I forced myself to only spend an hour drawing each page of this web comic, and just force myself to just reiterate drawing pages again and again. And that actually helped me become better, because it wasn't really about it wasn't about understanding technique. Like, I understood a lot about art, but what it was about was just drawing over and over and over again and just doing a lot. And I want to go back to it, but this is that webcomic. It's called David and Golilah. Some of the art is great, some of it is not so great, but I was committed to just doing it. It's basically like, if you look at the very beginning when I drew the cover, if you look at the very beginning of this comic when I drew the cover, like that's like what I was drawing like. And again, I was drawing this stuff really fast. It's a superhero comic about a giant superhero lady and the romance between her and kind of like this superhero police force dude. And then later on, like, it became way more dynamic. So here's another poster picture of me with drawing those characters. And as you can see, like, I started to get more dynamic in the style that I drew just by just drawing as much as I could. That is what I wanted to talk about. If you guys have any other questions, please let me know what your questions are right now. Just put them in the old comment box and I will answer your questions. And then while I'm waiting for that to happen, I will tell you very quickly some stuff that's coming up this week if you want to see me, and if you don't, that's fine. If you follow my teaching podcast, I do a podcast where I teach people stuff. It's called the Arts Academy Podcast. And today at 4:00 Eastern Standard Time, I will be teaching people how to shoot a mini documentary. Just recently, I was at Michael Che's comedy block party thing that he did. He did a comedy show in a parking lot, and then I shot a mini documentary. And I'm just going to talk about like how that was done, and maybe show a couple of pictures from that mini documentary from Michael Che's comedy thing. I think actually, if you look on my Instagram, you could actually see some pictures from. Oh yeah, here, this is it. This is me behind the scenes with Michael Che right there. And then this is Michael Che on top of a truck with lots of people who are not quite socially distanced enough. Luckily, I spent most of my time backstage, and I was never really in the throng of all those people. Secondly, also, check out NYC Talent Show every Sunday at 9 p.m. NYC Talent Show, where anybody can perform. So wherever you are and you want to perform, go to nyctalentshow.com and sign the hell up. Boop, 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 boop. There's a message from Jeffrey Bush. Late to the convo here, so sorry if you answered this already. I draw and scan into Photoshop and better color my illustration there. Okay. Welcome to English. I'm just kidding. I know it's probably a typo. It works, but I'm aware there is better software that makes this process easier. What software do you use, and what do you recommend for starting off? Well, I would recommend... what I use right now, my favorite software is Clip Studio Paint, because Clip Studio Paint not only like has lots of built-in things for finishing comics and cartoons, it also mimics real art materials like watercolors, acrylics, oils, India ink. It's great. And in fact, like I can throw something together pretty fast. Like this image I did today, which looks like watercolor and ink, was all done inside Clip Studio Paint, which I really, really like. I also use Adobe Fresco, and I also use Procreate. Of those, my favorite is Clip Studio Paint. I use it on a PC tablet because you can pay one price and then you have the software. Clip Studio Paint has also a version for the iPad, but they want you to pay a monthly fee, which for just only that software, I think I don't want to pay a monthly fee for drawing software. Plus you have Adobe Fresco and you have Procreate. And Adobe Fresco also tries to mimic materials, actual drawing materials, but it doesn't do as good of a job as Clip Studio Paint does. Clip Studio Paint also can automatically remove the white from your drawing. So like if you scan something in and put it in, you don't even have to go through the next step of like how most people select the white and remove it, because Clip Studio Paint, because it's made for artists, it knows that you're probably going to have to do that. By the way, isn't this a great picture of me? This is that I have a wide angle lens on my phone. Can't get enough of it. Can't get enough. All right, so if there are no more questions, I'm going to leave for now. But if you want to learn how to make a mini documentary or how to competitively stack cups, because we have a guest, Rachel Teichman, who's going to talk about how to do competitive cup stacking on the live podcast. That's at 4 p.m. and on the Arts Academy podcast Facebook page. So just go to, the Arts Academy, New York Alt Arts Academy is the name of it. The New York Alt Arts Academy. All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Please have a great apocalypse.